If this video reached you, it was not placed there by chance. God positioned it in your path with precision. Not for entertainment, not for distraction, but for recognition. Because there is something in you that has been marked, and this message is not introducing it. It is activating it. You didn't search for this by accident. You didn't stop here randomly. You were led. And the moment you pressed play, something already began shifting inside you. This wasn't random. It was selection. There are millions of videos, millions of messages, millions of voices speaking at the same time. But this one found you. And that is not coincidence. That is placement. God does not scatter messages without direction. He delivers them exactly where they need to land. And you are exactly where these needed to reach. You are not watching this. You were called into it. Because something about you is different. You have felt it for a long time. The way you see things, the way you sense what others ignore, the way you never fit into what everyone else seems comfortable with. The difference is not confusion. It is identification. You are not like the majority, and you were never meant to be. You weren't rejected. You were set apart. That feeling of being out of place, that distance you feel, even when surrounded by people, that awareness you cannot turn off. Those are not problems. Those are signs. Signs that you are not operating on the same level. Signs that you are not meant to stay in what is common. Signs that you are being separated for a purpose that requires clarity. God does not choose people who blend in. He chooses those who can stand apart. And you have been standing apart long before you understood why. This message is not here to convince you. It is here to confirm what you already know. You are chosen, not in a way that makes life easier, but in a way that makes life exact. Because the chosen are not allowed to drift. They are directed. Every experience you have had, every moment that felt confusing, every situation that ended without explanation, every time you felt like something was taken from you, none of it was random. It was alignment. It was preparation. It was separation. You didn't lose those things. They were removed. Because what is chosen cannot be built on what is unstable. And anything that could not hold your purpose was never allowed to stay. This wasn't random. It was selection. You have noticed a pattern. Things enter your life strongly. They feel real. They feel important. And then they are taken just as quickly. Not as slowly. Not gradually. But clearly. That is not instability. That is filtration. You are being filtered out of what does not belong to your final path. The 144,000 are not identified by what they keep. They are identified by what cannot stay attached to them. Because anything that does not match their purpose is removed. Without hesitation. Without delay. And you have experienced that removal again and again. That is not bad luck. That is design. God is. So every time something begins to anchor you in the wrong direction, it is taken. And you feel it as loss. But it is protection. You weren't abandoned. You were redirected. You have tried to hold on. You have tried to make things work. You have tried to stay connected to people, places, situations that no longer felt right. But every time you tried, something broke. Something shifted. Something forced you to let go. That was not failure. That was intervention. because your path does not allow compromise. You are not meant to stay where you are comfortable. You are meant to move where you are aligned. And alignment requires separation. That is why your life feels different. Others can stay in cycles. Others can ignore what is wrong. Others can settle into patterns that slowly pull them away from their purpose. You cannot, because you are not allowed to. You are chosen. And the chosen are corrected quickly. There is no long delay. There is no slow decline. There is immediate adjustment, immediate removal, immediate redirection. That is why your experiences feel intense, because they are precise. They are not stretched out. They are direct, so you can see clearly. So you cannot ignore it. So you cannot go back. You didn't come here to stay the same. You came here to be aligned. And that alignment is happening now. Through what you have lost. Through what has changed. Through what no longer fits. You're not being broken. You're being positioned. Everything that is happening is moving you into a place where your purpose can exist without interference. And that requires everything unnecessary to be removed first. That is what this moment is. This is not just a video. This is confirmation. Confirmation that what you have been feeling is real. Confirmation that what you have been experiencing has meaning. Confirmation that you are not like everyone else. You are chosen. And because you are chosen, nothing in your life is random. Not what you gain. Not what you lose. Not what stays. Not what leaves. Everything is placed. Everything is removed. Everything is directed by God. This message was not meant for everyone. It was meant for you. Because you are at a point where you can understand it. Where you can feel it. Where you can recognize it. You are not watching this by chance. You were led here. And now that you're here, you cannot go back to not knowing. You cannot go back to thinking your life is random. You cannot go back to believing what you lost was meant to stay. Because now you see it clearly. You are chosen. And this video was placed here to remind you of that. And now that you have seen this, it does not leave you the same. Because this was not information. This was activation. Something in you recognized this before your mind could explain it. That quiet sense of certainty you felt while listening, that was not emotion. That was alignment responding to truth. You didn't just hear these words. You identified with them. And that is the difference. Many will hear this and move on. But you stopped. You stayed. You felt it. Because this message was not for the crowd. It was placed for the chosen. This wasn't random. It was selection. There is a moment when everything begins to make sense. Not because your life suddenly becomes easier, but because you finally understand why it was never supposed to be. Why things never stayed. Why people left. Why you outgrew environments without trying. Why you always felt like you were between two worlds, never fully inside what others accepted as normal. That moment is happening now. Not as a realization you force, but as a truth you recognize. You were never meant to fit into what you were trying to hold on to. You were meant to be separated from it. And every time something ended in your life, it was not closing a door you needed. It was removing a door you were not meant to walk through. You didn't lose access. You were protected from the wrong path. You weren't rejected. You were set apart. This is why your life has a pattern that others do not understand. A pattern of sudden endings. A pattern of intense connections that don't last. A pattern of clarity arriving right when something collapses. That is not instability. That is precision. God does not slowly guide the chosen. He moves them directly, because hesitation creates attachment, and attachment delays purpose. So what you experience feels faster, stronger, more exact, because it is. You are not being shaped gradually. You are being positioned intensely. And now you are at a point where you cannot deny it anymore. You see the pattern. You feel the difference. You recognize that nothing in your life has been random. Not the losses, not the changes, not even this moment. You are here because you were meant to hear this now, not before, not later. Now, because this is the point where you stop questioning what is happening and start recognizing what it means. You are not someone drifting through life. You are someone being directed through it. And direction does not always feel comfortable. It does not always make sense in the moment. But it is always exact. That is what you are in. An exact process. Every delay, every shift, every removal, every unexpected turn, all of it has been guiding you into alignment. Even when it looked like everything was falling apart. Even when it felt like nothing was working. Even when it seemed like you were losing more than you were gaining. You were not losing. You were being cleared. And now there is less noise, less distraction, less attachment, which means there is more clarity, more awareness, more direction. This is where your path becomes undeniable. Not because everything is visible, but because everything unnecessary has already been removed. You are no longer guessing. You are recognizing. You are no longer searching. You are seeing. This is the shift. And once it happens, it does not reverse. You cannot go back to thinking your life is random. You cannot go back to believing your losses were meaningless. You cannot go back to ignoring what you now understand. Because now, you know, you are chosen. And what is chosen is not left to chance. It is guided. It is corrected. It is aligned by God. This video did not find you by accident. It was placed in your path at the exact moment you were ready to receive it. And now that you have, there is no confusion left. Only clarity, only direction, only purpose. You are not one of many. You are one of the selected. And everything that has happened has been leading you to this realization. You are chosen. And now you know it.